Hello everyone, welcome back to Savas Games. This is part 1 of my mod spotlight for Ars Nouveau. I don't know how many parts this will have yet, but I know we're not going to finish it in one. There is a lot to show here. Ars Nouveau is a awesome mod that's been around for a few months at the time that I'm recording this. It adds spellcasting to the game. It is a magic mod, and its primary thing you're going to see in the mod is that it's going to add spellcasting, and specifically the ability to craft spells in a custom way to chain abilities together in ways that you might like to do. It's also going to add some gear and trinkets, mostly in the service of the spellcasting in the mod, and in the later game it will also have some automation. I shouldn't say in the later game. It will also, in the later part of my mod spotlight, it will also have some automation through some adorable little entities. It's really a cool way of adding automation to the game, so we'll take a look at that as well. Without taking too long for this, I want to share a few details before we get started. For this spotlight, I am using Minecraft version 1.16.5. We are using a mod pack, the FTB Endeavour mod pack, 1.1.1, which includes Ars Nouveau. However, it does not include the newest version of Ars Nouveau at the time that I'm recording this, so I went ahead and updated that. We're using Ars Nouveau version 1.12.4. So what that means is I have included a world download for this mod spotlight in the description down below. So if you would like to download this world in the state before I'm about to mess with it a bit, to be able to test out everything and play with everything yourself in the same way that I'm showing, that is totally available to you. However, in order to use it, you're going to need FTB Endeavour 1.1.1, and you'll need to update Ars Nouveau unless FTB Endeavour has updated that at the time of my releasing this. So I don't want to talk your ear off too much about that, but I wanted you to know that world download is available and what's required for it. All that information is in the description, so you don't have to write it down right now. There are also timestamps in the description, so if you are bored with anything I'm saying right now or any other time during the video and you'd rather jump ahead to exactly what you're looking for, feel free to make use of those timestamps. Let me talk a little bit about the structure of the video. We're going to start off with showing spellcasting. We're going to get right out into the world and test out some spells that I've created and want to show you guys. We'll spend a bit of this first episode on that. We will also in this episode, though, cover the crafting system in Ars Nouveau and World Gen and how to just get started in the mod, how to craft all these things in order to get spellcasting. So if you'd like to jump ahead to that, if you want to really get started in the mod, feel free to use those timestamps and jump ahead down below. Without further ado, though, I'm going to show you a little bit of the spellcasting that is available in this mod. This is some of the most exciting stuff, so that is part of it, so I'm excited to show it to you. So, we have 3 different spellbooks here. There is the Novice spellbook, the Mage's spellbook, and the Archmage spellbook. They are tiered in terms of which glyphs are available to you. So a couple hotkeys associated with spellbooks. By default, you've got X and Z, which if you look in the lower left-hand corner above the pretty purple bar, there's white text that shows which spell I'm on. So X and Z will allow me to go back and forth through the different spells that I have in my book. If I press C, that goes into crafting mode, which we will talk about a bit in a moment. Really kind of opens the book up as a way of thinking about it as well. If we press V, we get a weapon wheel or a spell wheel for the different spells. So you can access the same spells that I was accessing here. If you'd rather access them through a wheel, that is available as well. In the other thing before we get into the spellbook is that pretty purple bar in the lower left-hand corner is our mana bar. There are 2 types of mana in Ars Nouveau. There is world mana, which we'll get into later, and there is personal mana, which is what you're using to actually cast spells. Personal mana is finite. It replenishes automatically. You'll see in a moment that it replenishes on its own, though there are ways to get it to replenish faster. You will gain more mana through all kinds of different things through the mod. You'll gain mana through the different glyphs that we add. Each glyph which we'll talk about in a second, will give you additional mana. So as we talk about crafting the glyphs, you're going to want to craft all of them because each one gives you more mana, even if you're not using that particular glyph for anything. You also get more mana from equipment, which we'll talk about most likely in another episode. And through a variety of other methods, I believe just upgrading your spellbook will give you more mana. Probably missing one or two things. So mana is very important. Let's go out into the world and use some mana. So in this spell book, I've just created a couple of spells. I don't know if I'm going to show you all of them, but we'll start going through some of these. I've created these just as a means of showing you how the spellcrafting system works and some of the most powerful things that are sort of available in this mod that I have found, at least. So we have glyphs here. Each of these colored blocks is a glyph. And down below here is a chain of glyphs, which represents the spell. So we can clear this out, and you can see each spell starts with an empty chain of glyphs, and then you can add them in. Now, each spell always has to start with a form, which in my Tier 1 spellbook I have Touch, Projectile, and Self. And you can kind of put together what we're doing here. This is going to tell where the spell is going to be cast. So a projectile spell will cast a projectile out into the world. Touch, you need to be touching something, and Self will cast a spell on yourself. Augments will modify the primary effects. So these are the effects, these are the actual verbs of the spell. This is what's going to be happening when the projectile hits, or when you touch something, or when you cast it on yourself. And then we can add augments after the effects to augment those effects. So in this first spell, I just called it Dead because it just does a lot of damage. Harm is a very simple effect that does damage. It doesn't do the most damage that's available in the mod, but it does a fair amount. And Amplify Augment is simply going to make that deal even more damage. So actually, let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick without any of these. I hit Create, and that locks it in. I can change the name down here. We can call it Deader. Hit Create, and that locks that in. I don't want Deader. That's even worse than Dead. The names are not great. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this spell out. We need a poor unsuspecting mob to try it out on. Oh, a poor raccoon from Alex's mom. Sorry, sir. Okay, so we can see we did some damage to him. I didn't see how many hearts he started with, but he's down to 2. And that kills him. So 2 hits a raccoon. Pig. Also 2 hits a pig. Okay. We can make it do more damage, though. Let's see. So pig started off with 5. So it looks like it's doing 2.5 hearts. Augment will just make it do much more damage. And now we can pretty much insta-kill almost anything. When we get up to the things like bosses, it's not going to insta-kill those. But our normal mobs, even things like I think an Enderman, you can 2-shot with a fully amplified harm. So it's a pretty damaging spell. However, it's going to use a lot more mana. We're on creative mode here, so I'm not too concerned about mana. But you can see my mana bar going down each time I cast this. And actually, even on creative mode, I will run out of mana eventually, and now I can't cast it anymore if I'm just spamming the button. I take that back. Creative mode, it seems like, allows me to continue casting it. But if we weren't on creative, we could do that. I'm going to stay on creative just because I want to be able to move around easily here and not get killed. So let's take a look at a few other spells. I'll start moving these through a little faster. If we do a projectile with the break glyph, now we're going to be mining from a distance, which is kind of cool. So we can send these down, and that's just mining a single block each time. It's not super impressive, but we'll be able to make this into a better miner soon. One thing I did find this useful for in single-player survival mode when I've been testing this out is this simple projectile mining spell can be nice just for trees or anything else that's a little bit annoyingly far away that you would like to still be able to mine. So I'm able to get rid of that whole flying saucer of a tree without building anything off the ground if I was in survival mode. So that's kind of nice. Alright, what else do we got? Full Moon. So this is a glyph that was just added. Summon Wolves. So there's 3 summoning glyphs now. For Summon Wolves, let's get into that one. Full Moon. There we go. Just simply summons 2 wolves to your side. you get a debuff called Summoning Sickness. Nice little nod to Magic the Gathering, if I'm not mistaken there. And which means you cannot cast any other summoning spells, so I can't just like spam wolves all day. But you get 2 wolves. They are temporary. I think they might last exactly as long as the Summoning Sickness. I apologize, I have not tested that, their duration. However, I believe there are augments that can extend their duration. We just haven't gotten those in the Tier 1 book here. Alright, Fusroda. This was kind of a first spell that I got. One of the initial glyphs that you get without actually crafting any in the first spell book you make is knockback. So we can just, do a simple knockback on these guys. Boom. Nice. Just push them away. Fus! Knock back my poor wolf. Alright, so let's see. We've got Come Here. This one, pretty similar. It's going to pull the mob to you, and then I also added in a delay and a snare, so it's going to slows them down after you pull it to them. So this is something to get a mob to. Let's see if we can get back to that. Come here. Yes. Brings him over to me, and he's slowed a little bit after he comes. It applies that debuff to him. So you can chain together these effects. They will all apply to it there. However, one thing about crafting here, you cannot have more than one of these. So one thing I tried to do was a harm spell that also had a self-heal on the end of it. So I was just constantly healing myself as I was doing that, but it wouldn't let you do that. So you have to pick a single form for each spell. Torchmaker, this is kind of a neat way of doing light. It's just basically going to add little glowing lights onto the ground, which are essentially like torches. They light just like torches, and you can destroy them like torches if you decide you don't want them anymore. So if you want to just not carry torches around anymore as you're mining, you can use this for your torches. Safe Jump is my favorite Tier 1 spell. It's for getting around. So imagine we're on survival mode here. We can Safe Jump, and it will launch me any direction I cast it, and I don't have to worry about damage because we chain on a slow fall onto the end of it. So I've got a slow fall for another 20 seconds here, so no matter where I jump, as long as I don't jump into lava or something like that, I'm going to be safe with this jump. So it's a great way to get around before you get a jetpack or anything like that early on in the game. Pretty cool spell. Couple more spells in the Tier 1. We've got a Safe Teleport. This is, I was just experimenting with Leap. I definitely liked... Oh, wait. Actually, these are the same spell. I just called them 2 different names. Burninate, there is an Ignite effect there, which we'll get into a little bit more in the Tier 2. And then last, there is a nice speed mechanic, which you can amplify up to just make yourself, super fast. Ludicrous Speed. There we go. Not bad. Not bad. Let's take a look at the Tier 2 spellbook. So the Tier 2 spellbook, we'll take a look at the crafting specifically of it in a little while. But for now, the Tier 2 spellbook, just know that this is gated behind the Nether. Okay, so you're going to need to get to the Nether before you can do this kind of stuff. With these glyphs, we can do a lot of really cool things. Ninja will make yourself invisible, so if you want to get through a dungeon without having to fight everything, you can do that. Explosion, well, it creates an explosion. And if you amplify it up, it's going to create a pretty big explosion. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how many practical uses there are for it, but that's darn fun. Okay, so what else do we have? We have Incinerate, so this takes the Ignite, and then if there is an enemy ignited, you can cast Flare on them. These always have to go together. You have to Ignite and then Flare, and the Flare has a pretty awesome effect. We don't need Dampen there. That was a mistake. Let's take a look here. So it just basically burns them up. It's really nice, but it should also spread to other mobs, so let me see if I can find a few that are next to each other here. There's a nice group of spiders. Doesn't seem to be spreading. I'm not going to sweat too much. By the way, oh, there we go. That one spread to the one next to it. Outside of the concept of this, or the scope of this mod spotlight is the glyphs. I'm not going to describe each and every glyph, and that's because in the Warren Notebook there are already really good descriptions of each one, and so I don't feel like anybody's really going to be looking for that. But I just wanted to show you some of the interesting things you can do here. We won't spend too much longer on the tier 2 because I want to get onto the crafting before we spend too much time on our spotlight here. So tier 2, we can also use fell to take down trees with some stay on that one. With some augments added onto this becomes extremely powerful to be able to take down trees. Basically just takes them down one hit, boom, boom, boom. And you can see that one took down 2 trees because I've put a AoE effect on this one as well. So let's see, I wanted to get to some really big trees to show this. Where are we? Let's head south. Maybe we can get some ludicrous speed. Nice. Just craters. Okay, so some mods will add really giant trees to Minecraft, like these beautiful ones. What are these? Cypress trees from all the biomes you'll go, I believe the mod is called. But check out, we can take these down with almost a single hit. You have to do 2 for the top, but also with a projectile, so we can do this from a distance. So pretty awesome stuff, and that's just in the tier 2 spellbook from Ars Nouveau here. Lucky Miner, this is pretty cool. It's going to be able to mine a whole bunch for us and also apply tier 3 fortune to all of our mines. So check out how much I'm going to be able to mine here. If I can switch to it. There it is. Boom. It's like 5 by 5, plus it goes 2 deep, I believe. And each of these casts is fortune. So pretty insane mining. Again, there's going to be mana requirements for all of this. I've added a lot of augments on, and so that's going to require a lot of mana. However, I will show you everything you need to know in this spotlight to be able to get your mana up in very easy ways at each level. Heals, pretty simple. It's going to heal you and also apply a shield. We got Blizzard. It works the same way as the Ignite, where you have to freeze them and then you can do Cold Snap, and this is going to freeze them, slow them down, in addition to damaging the mobs. Ender Storage, just a simple spell, allows you to access your Ender Storage, whatever Ender Crate, Ender Chest it would have in this game. It's available right there from the spell. And let's see, like Landmine. This shows the rune form which gets added in tier 2. You can see a lot of augments get added in addition to our other effects in tier 2, but there's one rune form that gets added, which is rune. So let me model this one real quick. Landmine is just going to cast a rune on the ground. As you walk up to this rune, if you or any mob walks over this rune, it will cast that spell. Okay, so we just have what it's going to do is snare you and then essentially do an incinerate on you for this. So it's like a trap you can set up. You can set these up for any different spell you want, though. And then the last spell in the tier 2 I wanted to show you was Soft Miner, similar to the Fortune Miner, the Lucky Miner I did before, except for this one is going to give us Extract, which is going to the Extract augment is going to make this into Silk Touch. So this is Silk Touch mining now. Okay. Alright, so let's get on to the tier 3 spellbook. I'll just show you a few things in this one because tier 3, I'm not sure if it's not fully implemented yet or not, but it just does not add nearly as many glyphs. I think there's only 6 or 7 glyphs that get added, effect glyphs that get added with tier 3 and 1 augment. So there's only a few things to show you here. Lightning Bolt is pretty cool. It just simply has lightning cast or descend wherever you cast it. Pretty fancy way of killing mobs. We got Instant Doorway. This is using this Intangible, so I do want to show you this because it is pretty neat. So Intangible is a effect that if you cast it, will cause blocks to disappear, but only temporarily. You can see they just sort of come back over time. And so I call it Instant Doorway because this will allow me to walk into any space without actually destroying the wall. So if I have a house, I can have a house with no doors, just cast these anytime I want to go in. Teleport is a similar effect. This is a blink spell. You can just blink forward. You have to be a little bit precise with it, though. You can see this might... Yeah, okay, that worked. But sometimes it'll cast me onto the other side of the building there. Shredder Fangs is just a ridiculous effect that gets added in Tier 3. I almost... this is a little spoiler. You might want to... it's a little late to say it now. But this just adds this really cool thing that will just shred. That's why I call it Shredder. And it does damage to mobs. I don't see any around here that we can torture right now. But you get the idea. Fangs, pretty cool. Multi-buff, so we've got strength, we've got shield, we've got speed. I might be missing one, but those are the buffs, so you can just chain those together to give yourself all three at once, all at level 3. Pretty nice. Minions, so now we also have a summon Vex. There was a summon Steed, which I didn't show you, which if you want to summon a horse, that's a Tier 1 glyph. Tier 3 glyph is summon Vex, and this is similar to the wolves, except for these are... if I'm not mistaken, added by this mod. Unless that's a vanilla thing that was added in my... well, I wasn't paying attention. So we can summon these 3 Vexes, and these guys are awesome. They will come and attack anything that tries to attack us. They just sunk into the ground for some reason. Not sure what's happening there, but they're back. They'll follow me around. Once again, we got Summoning Sickness with that one. You can add on extend time, augments to those summons, which is great. Let's see, we've got a wither effect that gets added. Just you can add that onto your damaging spells, which is great. And Split is the one augment that gets added in Tier 3, and I just have it modeled here with a simple growth spell, which will grow any place I cast it, and you can see that because I've got that split augment added on, several splits added on, it's casting multiple times every time. So you can see how this would be great for offensive spells as well. Yeah, but right now it's just growing grass. Alright, so that is it for demonstrating the spell casting for Ars Nouveau. Hopefully that has you a bit excited. And those things are really remarkably easy to accomplish in a survival world. I'm going to show you now in the second half of this spotlight everything that you need to know to get started in Ars Nouveau if you are playing a survival and actually craft all the things that are necessary. So first of all, let's go ahead and pop these up here. 1, 2, 3. So if you download this world, those 3 spell books will be sitting there with all the spells that I set up. So if you were sitting there going, oh, you did that one wrong, I would do it this way, then you can go in and grab my spell book and fix it any way that you would. What does that sound? Oh, I think that was my Vexes about to despawn. They make a sound as they're about to despawn. That's kind of nice, actually. Did not notice that before. Vex sound effects. Alright, so the spellbooks will be there if you want to play with them. Alright, so let's take a look here. To get into this mod, it does not require much. Up here, these top 2 rows, mana gems come with Ars Nouveau. The rest of this is all vanilla. These are made from the mana gems plus stone. We get arcane stone. So all this stuff is what's required. The numbers are not precise, but I wanted to just show you kind of a picture in front of you all at once of what's required to kind of get started making all of these different structures that are required for the crafting system in Ars Nouveau. It's really not much. This, if you're in the early game, this is not terrible to put together. So I really encourage you to try this mod out in the early game because there's some powerful stuff to be had. The first spellbook, that Novice spellbook, that what I was referring to as Tier 1, is made with a bunch of iron tools and a book. Not hard. The Worn Notebook that I have been referring to a little bit is your guide. Really is fantastic documentation. I do not expect mod authors to provide this level of documentation for their mods, but it's really nice when they do, and I encourage you to read that. Everything that's shown in there's a lot of redundancy that I'm going to be talking about in here, things that are in that notebook. However, seeing it in a video format hopefully will help you out a little bit. You can see that to get the Mage's spellbook, we're going to need to go to the Nether. You need quartz and blaze rods for that one, in addition to some obsidian and diamond. And the Archmage spellbook, we're going to need to kill some difficult mobs. Totem of Undying, I can't remember what that drops from, but it's not an easy one. And then Nether Star, of course, we're going to have to kill Wither in order to get the Archmage spellbook for that tier 3 stuff that I was showing you. So mana gems are the most important world gen thing, however they are not the only one. Mana gems we'll talk about in just a moment. Source berries are something you'll find in the world on these sourceberry bushes. And you can pick those up, bring them back to your base to grow. Source berries are used to craft a mana regeneration potion in the mod. There are 4 types of archwood. I've got those growing right around our central area here. We've got the flourishing archwood, the blazing archwood, the something else archwood, and the cascading archwood, which, help me out. It's the purple one is vexing archwood over there, yeah. These are largely decorative. You can make this gray sort of archwood planks, which can be made into different things. The wood is pretty nice to put down. I've used it as kind of pathways in this test world. And however, the blazing archwood does have a practical use we'll talk about in a moment. There are 3 mobs which are added to World Gen by this mod. We've got the Wilden Stalker, the Wilden Hunter, and the Wilden Guardian. And each mob has its own drop. We've got Wilden Wings from the Stalkers, Wilden Horns from the Hunters, and Wilden Spikes from the Defenders, which only appear in cold biomes. I will go ahead and take a second to show you each of these. So a Stalker looks like that. And I will let you discover the... Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and pop it in survival so that you can... see the combat effects of these guys. Okay, so he's hitting me. You can see he applies, I think, like a slow effect or something like that. Let's see. Bleeding. He's giving me bleeding. Oh, ouch. Alright, so we can burninate him. And you get the idea. That burninate is not working super fast to kill him. Perhaps they are resistant to fire? I don't know. I have not done a lot of testing with the mobs, I'll be honest. Let's pop this back in here and take a look at a hunter. Hunters, I believe, have a projectile attack. Oh. Maybe we can not use burninate on them. What else do we have? We've got... Oh, burninate didn't do much. That was just ignite. Let's just use our regular dead spell on these guys. Alright, I think all of a sudden we're doing a let's play here. Let's grab some food. Got some pumpkin pies down here for just this purpose. Okay. There's that guy. Oh, he's going to summon some wolves, and he might actually kill me. Okay, there we go. So... got ourselves a trinket, not bad. Okay, so get an idea of what he can do. A little bit more menacing, and I think those are more rare too, if I'm not mistaken. I had to go out and find these in the world, and those seemed a little bit trickier to find. Okay, Guardians are the ones that are found only in cold biomes. And they're going to drop the spikes that are required for the Pierce Glyph. So he's going to do a distance attack on me. Ouch. Goodbye, sir. Interesting. Is that hurting me? Did he? Interesting. He might have an interesting kind of attack on there. Okay, so obviously this mod spotlight is not going to be covering in detail their attacks because I am far from an expert on that. But that gives you an idea of what those mobs are going to be like, and you do need to drop at least one of each of them to be able to build the glyphs that are going to be made from these drops. We'll get into glyphs in a few moments. First, though, let's talk about the most important world gen in here. Maybe clear our bags just a little bit. The most important thing in World Gen is going to be mana gems. Mana gems come from... Maybe we'll take a quick nap. set our game back in creative, and we'll take a look at the mana gems. So mana gems come from arcane ore, which the manual describes as a little more common rather than gold, and you will find it at similar levels. Let's see, arcane ore. We are going to find up to Y level 45, and then it decreases up to level 61. But in all the low levels, you'll find high levels of arcane ore. So this is pretty easy stuff to find. However, you can also set up an infinite source of it in your base by making a Crystallizer. Crystallizer, set up with a hopper and a chest underneath, will actually... I feel like I have this wrong. It might need just the chest underneath. Let's just test that out real quick. So you can see that crystals are just feeding into here. So let's go ahead and pop a chest. I'm going to do a little testing right here in the spotlight because I think this is worth checking because I feel like I'm wrong about this. So let's see if this will now... That won't let me even open it. Okay, so I guess it does require a hopper. Did not want to give you the wrong information there, but it clearly is working. It works, however, really slowly. The 64 mana gems is pretty high, except for it's got a stack, but that was the entire time I was building all this, generated that much. So it's not that quick. So you can increase this by adding mana. We'll talk about mana in a second on how to get it, but if you have mana, you can put a mana jar, or more than one mana jar, next to the Crystallizer. Any in these 8 spots that are adjoining or diagonally adjoining it, and you can see we've already got another mana gem, and it should start generating these much faster for us now. We got a second one, and we can actually watch them generating in front of our face at this point. So you can get the mana gems much quicker by providing the creative mana jars. I don't think actually it's providing more mana jars is going to make it go faster. I think that when you're not dealing with creative mana jars, when you're dealing with regular mana jars that you have to actually fill, that it would just provide more mana that's accessible to it. But once the mana runs out, it's not going to be doing any of these. It does require a good amount of mana. I believe it requires about a third of a tank of mana, World Gem mana, a third of a tank of that to create one gem. So there you go. That's a way you can automate your mana gems through a Crystallizer. With those mana gems, like I said, you're going to be creating lots of arcane stone, and that arcane stone can be used to make some machines. So let's get into those. There are 3 ways of making world mana, which is stored in these mana jars. I've got creative mana jars all over this world. However, of course, you will have access only to regular mana jars in a survival world. So let's talk about how we get those filled if you don't have creative mana jars. There are 3 ways, like I said. The first way is by killing mobs. So let's go ahead and demonstrate this. This also demonstrates a really cool block. You can see that those creepers can't come right up into the fence and kill me because we've got these warding stones. Warding stones are an awesome early thing that you can make in this mod to simply keep any mob from passing them. So you can use them for a door in your house or for external security in your house, any of those types of things. So I've got a bunch of creepers here. We've got a mana condenser. Mana condenser wants to always be on top of a mana jar. So you make your mana jar, put it on the bottom, underneath the mana condenser. If I kill a creeper, we can see a beam go to there, and now this mana jar has something in it. We can see in the upper left-hand corner, there's white text. It says 2% full. It was 0% full before, now it's 2%. If we kill another creeper, should go up to 4%. That should get us up to 12%. So it looks like 2% of a jar per creeper. So there you go. First simple way of filling mana jars is put a mana condenser next to someplace where a mob is about to die. If you have a mob farm already, popping a mana condenser next to it will be an easy way to generate mana. The next way you can generate mana is by breeding animals. So we've got some cows here. If we give them some hay, then they will breed, And we should see Beam of Light go out to this one. And it was blocked, I believe, but the beam also went out to this mana condenser over here. These mana condensers can be this far apart. I think it was 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks apart. So this one in the center here, I've got the red stone block under to show this one's not going to be getting anything. Okay, so if I go and try to kill these, we should get more mana to those two, but nothing for this one. Nothing for this one. Okay, we're going to come back to that in just a moment. This is the third way of getting mana with a mana condenser, and my favorite way, at least for the early game, which is just simply growing crops. So any crop that is growing will fill the mana jar through a mana condenser. As we can see here, I've also modeled, once again, we've got multiple condensers that are being filled, and each of these is 6 blocks apart from the other, including the one that is up above here. It's 6 blocks up from these other ones, 6 blocks diagonal, I guess, and it is getting that as well. And what's really cool about this is that each time one of these grows, it is not splitting the mana between each of these. It is charging up each one of them with, I believe it's the 2% that we saw before, 2% for each growth. So that is pretty powerful. You definitely want to have multiple mana condensers if you want to try to maximize how much mana you are generating from a farm or a mob farm or any other way of generating it. This one right here is in between. Once again, it's demonstrating that this is too close to that one. It's also too close to that one, and so it's not going to be getting any mana, even though all the rest of these are getting some mana. We could theoretically put one more down below the ground to get all 6 directions. Every time something grows on this farm, all 6 mana condensers would be charging then. All right, so there is one other way of getting mana besides with the mana condenser, and that is a Volcanic Accumulator. This one is passive, so you don't have to have anything happening like a farm or mob farm or anything like that. This one just has to be placed on top of some lava. So you make a volcanic accumulator, you put it on top of lava, and it will start filling mana jars that are adjacent to it. We see there's no beams here. It's just the ones that are adjacent to it, and it will go up to 5 blocks away. So once this one is full, you can see it's 94% full. Once it's full, this one will start filling, and then this one, and so on. Once we get to the 6th block, this one will never fill from it. So you can set up quite a few mana jars around an array of these volcanic accumulators or around a single one to fill them all over time. The other thing I wanted to model here is that this is one of the ways that the lava lilies come in. Lava lilies are just decorative, but they are grown automatically in any adjacent block to a volcanic accumulator. You can see I had to destroy all those ones here, and as soon as I destroyed them, we can see that there are new ones starting to grow. Alright, so that's how we fill our mana jars. What do we do with this mana? Well, I already showed you one way. We can speed up the Crystallizer. This mana is also used in the Enchanting Apparatus. Sometimes for different crafts in the Enchanting Apparatus, we'll need it. I'll get to that in a second. But the most important thing in the early game you're going to use it for, first thing most likely, is the Glyph Press. So I've got a creative mana jar here, but the Glyph Press is going to need mana every time we're using it. So Glyph Press is how we're going to get all of these different effects unlocked. When you make a spellbook, your first novice spellbook, this one is only going to have 3 forms and 2 effects. You get Break and Harm, you get Self, Touch, and Projectile. That's it. Pretty good effects. Those are good ones to start with, but that's all you get. You don't get any augments, you don't get anything else. In order to unlock the rest of those that you see in my novice spellbook here, I believe I have all the glyphs unlocked. I might have missed one. In order to unlock all the rest of these, you need to create the glyphs using the Glyph Press. So how does the Glyph Press work? Let's model this. Let's empty our bags a little bit. This junk can go away. And let's see. Can we take that out? Yes. Okay. So these are the types of materials you'll be using in the Glyph Press. Magic clay, Marvelous Clay and Mythical Clay are the unique material that's used for every single glyph. Magic Clay is used for those Novice Tier 1 glyphs. Marvelous Clay for the Tier 2 or Mage glyphs, and Mythical Clay for the Tier 3, which is the Archmage, I believe. The clay needs to go in the side, if I'm not mistaken, so let's grab some clay and pop it in here. I've got this one automated. If you're going to automate it, you can also just pop it in by hand. But for automating, it needs to go in the side. Any of the sides is fine. The front, back, or the left or the right. The top is where the reagent is going to come from. So that's what all the rest of the junk in this chest is the reagents. Now I have almost full stacks of everything in here and multiple ones of the single ones. That's just for testing purposes. You're only going to need one of each of these items. And you can see that most of them are not that hard to come by. And these Tier 1 ones, probably the slime ball and the cod, maybe the strangest, hardest to get things in here, and even those are not too bad. So you're just going to grab one of each of these things. Let's demonstrate it with a lever. And if we pop the lever into the top, we could also just right click it on there. It should start crafting. It'll craft. If you have a chest adjacent to it, it will go into the chest, and you can see the next clay already went in there ready. So there is my glyph. If I didn't have the chest here, it would just pop out as an item into the world. So your first couple of glyphs, you don't need to automate anything, of course. You can just do this by hand. It's not really necessary to automate it at all, though it can be a little bit nice when you're doing several of these at once. You can, just grab, a bunch of these things, pop them into your chest, and they'll just start crafting for you. So now that we have the glyph, Interact is the one we made there. We don't have Interact in this spellbook that we made. If I right-click the glyph while it's on my hotbar, then it will go away. I'm on creative mode, so it didn't go away, but normally it will go away, and you will see that it is now in any spellbooks that are in your inventory. So all these ones already had it, but this one did not, and now we can see it has Interact. If we grab the rest of these, we can do the same thing with them. And my Novice Spellbook now has the snare and light glyphs as well. So that's how we craft glyphs using the Glyph Press, and how we add them to the spellbooks so that they can be used. Alright, the next thing I should cover is the Enchanting Apparatus. This is another crafting mechanic that is added by the game. It's used to make all kinds of different items in the game. Let's take a look at that real quick. Enchanting Apparatus. So there's all the recipes for that. You can see that glyphs sometimes are used as ingredients in these. This is just a mana gem block. Other than that, you should recognize most of the crafting ingredients here. Let's go ahead and craft a Dominion wand just to demonstrate this. So we're going to need a stick for the middle, and then 3 reagents, the mana gem, and gold ingot. Okay, 2 mana gems and a gold ingot. 1, 2, and 1 of you. And we're going to need a stick. Can we... I don't think we can even craft. We're going to need to cheat in a stick. Okay. There's our stick. So the stick is what goes right in the center here. We're going to just click that. That's going to be the last thing we put on, sorry. Let's bring these other ones over here. So these go on the pedestals. So you've got to set this whole setup up. I've got some decorative stuff in here, but all that's required is the arcane core, which always goes on the bottom, Enchanting Apparatus. You'll need a mana jar if the craft requires mana, which not all of them do. And then you'll need pedestals. So in this case, we only need 3 pedestals because we are crafting something that only requires 3 reagents in addition to the primary one. However, some of them require all 8, up to 8. So you're going to want 8 pedestals around your Enchanting Apparatus. So if we click this in the center now, it should give us a fun animation and craft up our Dominion wand. So Dominion wand is something we'll cover in a future episode, but that's just how the Enchanting Apparatus works in order to craft all the things that are required for it. Let's see, let's get back into Enchanting Apparatus, see if there's anything else we want to talk about there. Enchanting Apparatus, recipes. Let's see. Yep, we will cover all of these different items you see going forward. Okay, this is an important one. Mana Bloom seeds. Notice these ones were not in the World Gen chest that I had. So making these in the Enchanting Apparatus with any seed and 4 mana gems is the only way to get these. And that is how you plant these Mana Bloom plants, which we'll get to in a future episode and what those are used for. Alright guys, thank you for joining me for the first episode of Ars Nouveau Mod Spotlight, where we covered our spell casting, spell crafting, and mana generation and crafting within this mod. Hopefully you found something useful within this mod. In the future episode, we will get into the various entities that are added by this mod. Boy, that one is loud. What are you called again? Yeah, Wilded Hunters are loud, guys. Various entities that are added by this mod that are helpful, unlike you, sir. And we'll add all kinds of cool and unique automation. In addition to, we'll also talk about the various trinkets that the mod adds. Thank you very much for joining me. If you are watching this video, you are loved and you are always welcome on my channel. I'll join you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.